back with you inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running Africa, and we go live now to South Africa, where my brother Junor Negus is standing by. He is a Rastafari Ancient Council Global Secretary. He's the elect of records, and was, I should say, the elect of records at the Kutzbah's Nyabinghi order. Well, he tell us if he still is, but I know elect of records for the Nyabinghi order. Good morning, afternoon, Junor Negus. How you doing, my brother?
Yes, good morning, Sister Kavo. I'm doing okay.
All right, great to hear you. You've been in South Africa for a while now. Tell us about that journey. You went to South Africa when and why?
This mission to South Africa was a delegation that was supposed to... Bongo Hatu came to South Africa in 1996 to establish the Nyabinghi order here. And then Bongo time came in 98. But this was a request from 96 that Jamaica should send some elders to South Africa to remain with what Bongo Watu had established 96. So 98, when Bongo time came, that delegation was supposed to be a delegation of elders that was going to stay in South Africa in 98. So there was no one that did not manifest since then. So because of that, South Africa kind of never had the proper guidance around the Nyabinghi order that Bongo Watu had established,
Yes. So you went there what year?
So we finally made it here now, 2019.
Okay.
A delegation of elders, of course, not to return to, but that was August 30th of August 2019.
And you've been there since. And that takes us now to what we want to talk about. We have been focused on the lands at Nyabinghi Scotspass for the last 4 weeks, and want to put a cap on this particular issue this week. I don't intend to carry the discussion over into February, so we're putting a cap on this. But last week, as Sizzler talked about his own involvement and the work that he's done at the Nyabinghi, Scotspass Nyabinghi, and also in the Tabernacle and so on. One of the persons he mentioned was yourself, Junor Negus. He also talked about the elders, the ancients, who were sent to South Africa by him. So the delegation you're talking about that went in 2019, that's a delegation that was facilitated to travel to South Africa to repatriate, if you will, by Sizzler, right?
With Sizzler, not by Sizzler, but with Sizzler. With Sizzler.
Did Sizzler pay the fare for the ancients who went into South Africa?
We received 7 tickets from the Cannabis Queen of the South. We give thanks for her initiative, through the bilateral. So it was there for a while. So by the time those 7 tickets was ready to be, they might have been a little bit more than what she had put up. So the Honorable Sizzler did assist with those tickets.
Okay.
But
all right.
those tickets was initiated by the Queen of the South, the Nyabinghi House in South Africa.
Okay, and then assisted by Sizzler.
Facilitated.
And that's the point I was making. And because he mentioned you in the process of a discussion, we thought it only fair for objectivity to reach out to you and to get your perspectives. We are sure that you are someone who has a lot of the history of the Nyabinghi order, and specifically Scotspass Nyabinghi, because you were the elect of records. What does that mean in real terms?
The elect of record is someone that probably livicate themselves to be at every Rastafari function or to pay keen attention to Rastafari gathering meetings and documentation, being there, because not everyone can afford to be livicated that way, to make sure that they are wherever Rasta is, or wherever the Nyabinghi administration is. We keep a record for those who are absent. You see?
Yeah. So and are you still the Elector of Records?
Well, you see, an elector of record is someone that has the record, So there's no, especially in the Nyabinghi. The Nyabinghi Order is not an organization,
Oh, I see what you mean.
Of record, an elector of record is something that is not movable.
No, yes, understand.
The records can be transferred to someone younger, but they have to be connected to...
Point well taken. Well, you've been, you're no stranger to the Africa Forum, Junor Negus. I've been interviewing you for many, many years. The last time I interviewed you, you were actually, I think, just about on your way to South Africa, if I remember rightly. And I think the time before that, you were here with Sizzler and with the Ancients, the Ancient Council, members of the Ancient Council. I want to foreground that, because I want you to put into perspective for us and take us through the history, a bit of the history of the Nyabinghi movement, contemporary history, because I know you have that, and in particular then to focus a little on Scots Pass itself.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Yes, the last time I was there in your studio, Mama, after as you said before, treading, was when the Queen of the South was in Jamaica.
I remember.
You interviewed her, and myself as well.
Yes.
So a brief review of just what the Nyabinghi Order represent in the theocracy government, the theocracy reign order of the Nyabinghi is focused on, mainly to repatriate each and everyone back to the land, because we are a government from 1836, from the emancipation, where we never did succumb under any, our people of the plantation, they wanted to go back home. So we was been planning how to do that since 1838 until we finally reached Africa in 1961 on that mission. And then by the time we came off that mission, independence was forced down on us. So it's like that government has been, branded as a Jamaican. So I just want to, maybe you could guide me if take too long.
No, I'm not going to allow you to take too long, because we've had many conversations, so I know that you'll take a little long, but don't worry about it. We'll start with that then. Start right there. Let us take it from there, so that we're looking mainly at the contemporary history as opposed to going all the way back to the 1800s and so on. So let us look at the contemporary history.
Okay. Well, yes. I want to say that you have what is called the indigenous people, because what is happening, Mama, the world is looking for God. Where is God? And how they've been looking, their closest they come to finding God is among the indigenous people. So, for example, a Kumina man playing his drum, cover it up and it's still playing, you know what I mean? Things like those, the mystery of our culture. So that is why we have what is called the indigenous protection. So in their search, they have realized that there is something called the Nyabinghi Order. That 1978, when Bob Marley called a bingy in Ewell Circle in Kingston, it was like a 31 light bingy. During that bingy, if you check the history, 2 popes died after each other. Apparently, the leader for the Ku Klux Klan died, and they had to call on Bob Marley to stop the bingy so that they could crown their next pope.
And I know that for persons might be doubting this, but let me just pause and underscore that Junor Negus is right. That during that bingy, 2 popes died, right? Poor Paul, and the person who succeeded him died shortly after. So that is true. Go ahead, Junor.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
And so then this is what brought the attention of the CIA, because they realized that this order is the only thing that is left to fight against the force of darkness, because Nyabinghi order is a spiritual order, you see, and it's structured. So that's, since then, they have been targeting how they can dismantle the Nyabinghi order, you see, and that's where the Smithsonian and all those people come in since. So 1982 now is a vital point in our history, because this was when the Crown Prince came to Jamaica, Darwin, and he actually called the first our mansion and established the center post for Scott's Park. And then 83 now we had the biggest international conference as Nyabinghi people, and it went by the name RITA, you see, which was Rastafari International Theocracy Assembly, you see.
Yes.
And out of that gathering, there was a 22 proposal resolution came out. And the first one is that we must set up a secretariat to deal with repatriation as priority, you see.
So was that secretariat set up?
Well, that has been our movement since. That's what the administration has based around since. You see.
So to go back to the to go back to the center post a bit, when the Crown Prince Dawit came, Prince Dawit came, and you talk about that center post. We've heard a lot about that center post in terms of how the land was acquired and who planted the center post, and whether or not even the fact that the prince planted the center post meant that there was an understanding that the land would have been a gift, would have been given to Rastafari. What was your understanding? Or what is your understanding of whether or not the Scots Pass land was a gift or was it land for use until permission to use?
It was a gift to the community, you know, because apparently I hear another history of the story that the man that was driving the train that His Majesty was riding on, remember it was Bongo Ken who built. Bongo Ken was my predecessor. That's who you would say appoint me to carry out his work as an ancient dialect of record. He's a little bit ill in America now, but he was the one who built the chair that His Majesty ride in the train. You see, so when the train was passing Scots Pass, the driver of the train apparently had stopped because the land was his. You see, the driver of the train. I don't quite know the fullness of it, but that is how that land was designated through His Majesty. But this was land that was purchased by
Nana Rita Marley. At the time, did she buy this after, or did she own this before?
This land was bought. Bob Marley. This is all about Bob Marley. You know, Sister Rita Marley represents Bob Marley. You see.
Well, I will not necessarily stand here as a woman and let you say that, right? So the land was purchased by Rita Marley. No, I will have none of it. The land was purchased by Rita Marley. It is in Rita Marley's name. She purchased the land. I don't know about any representation because that's not on the title. So the point that we're making is that you're saying that it is connected, or the idea of this Scots Pass tabernacle being there and the land, it's connected back to the fact that the train passed through Scots Pass. That's what you're saying, that carried His Majesty.
And stopped. And the man that was driving the train, it was him who owned the land.
All right. So the understanding then that Rita would have purchased the land, and Nana Rita would have purchased the land afterwards. All right. That was just an aside. So go ahead. You're giving us a history. I wanted to go back just to understand just to find out what your understanding of that center post, the planting of a center post would have been. But go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. So we was at 83, then we could even just jump up to say 92, the centenary, which was a all-island global movement, which took a delegation to Ethiopia. Coming back from Ethiopia, 92, Mashanti was one of them on the delegation, where she got Raspinto to write a letter, and she delivered that letter to All Mansion to call the All Mansion 94 in Green Bottom in Clarendon. That was Mashanti who did that. You understand?
Yes. Oh dear. Hold the line for me, Junior. Sorry. 1 minute. I missed my break. Hold on. I'm trying to get a bit of the history, contemporary history, recent history of the Nyabinghi order, year by year. Material manifestation points, and Junor Negus, Elector of Records, I think, is the best person to do that, and he's on the line just taking us through a quick run through of some of the highlights over the years. All right, so you're talking about Mashanti now, Junior.
Yeah, coming back from the centenary, Ethiopia, she got a letter written, and then she took it to all the mansions to fulfill that which was the 22-point resolution from 83 conference, right? Which is to set up a secretariat. So this was how RCO was set up, 94 in Green Bottom, you see?
And the RCO, meaning the Rastafari Centralization Organization, right?
Right. Centralized organization. Yeah.
And the Rasta Silver.
So we could move to even 95, 96.
Yeah.
96, we had a 11-night bingy down in Irish Pen. And in that bingy, a brother of sound mind, he burned to ashes one Friday night. Then, during that bingy, the Queen of England, they got always gathering, it was the 23rd of July bingy. They were gathering in the Buckingham Palace, and there was a lightning that struck there and out. Most of them was taken to hospital. This was in the headline.
Right, yeah. And I'm going to stop to underscore again on behalf of yourself and those who know this, that is actually true. 23rd of July, you can check it. What's the year again? 96. That during the bingy, and of course Rastafari making a connection in the same way it made a connection to what happened with the two popes who died during the bingy, and now the lightning that struck Buckingham Palace, July 23. Note the date, July 23, during the bingy here, and he's right also that many were taken to hospital. Yes, go ahead, Junor.
Okay, thanks for that again.
Yeah.
That was where I first got my first official opposition amongst the Nyabinghi order, where during that bingy, the elders came together and structured what was called the Youth Council. So I was nominated or selected as the security for the Youth Council. So that from that position is kind of, because just to say that the night that brother burnt in the fire, I was on the bingy ground for 11 nights. He asked me to drive into Westmoreland the Friday night, and I didn't come back till Saturday. And when I came back, that brother was burnt. Everything was like it never happened,
Yes.
So I don't think that as a security, that's probably why I took that portfolio during that time.
Right. I was at that bingy. I remember that bingy very well. I was there when that happened.
Okay.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Oh, my. Yeah, so now, I go back to 96 also is when we got our observer status through the brilliance of our high priest, Bongo Watto. You see? That is another episode, but that was a major accomplishment towards establishing a governance, you see? So then, therefore, now let me retract. 94, when RCO was put in place, on the international level in Miami, the international world had decided that they was going to have a all Rastafari gathering annually, and it started in Miami, 94, and 95 it was in in Toronto. 96 it was to be in Ethiopia. It didn't happen in Ethiopia. So 97 was in St. Croix. So St. Croix, when the brethren gathered in St. Croix, they decided, they heard about the observer status that Congo Wato received. So they wanted then, okay, then let Congo Wato and the Nyabinghi House host the next gathering in Barbados, November 98.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happened, a few executives from the Nyabinghi House in Jamaica, they took unto themselves with Sam Brown and Rasta Silva and called a counter conference in Barbados in July before the gathering, and they created what was called CROW with the authority of Rasta Silva, because at that time he was like the president of the RCO. That means he is the legal voice for the All Mansion in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
So when he travels to the Eastern Caribbean and sign a document with those Eastern Caribbean now to create a region, a Caribbean region unity and secretariat, you see, that's what they did in July.
Mm-hmm.
And when all of them was there, all of them signed a petition against Bongo Wato and the Nyabinghi House that this CRO that they're putting in place today is going to be the umbrella administration for the Rastafari movement.
The CRO then being the Caribbean Rastafari organization. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the acronym spells CROW though. CROW, CRO, CROW.
CROW, right.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
See?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when Bongo Wato and 12 Asian gathered in Barbados, 1998, November, with the Crown Council to address the covenant that they had received with the United Nations, because the covenant is the agreement that the United Nations supposed to table with the United Nations, so that they will know which rights to instruct the Jamaica government and any other government to protect our rights through the covenant that we was to create.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what did not happen up until now, because those brethren who gathered in July, they wrote a petition, signed a petition against Bongo Wato and the Bingi House that they're going to be taking over this administration. And it's been, well, I leave it there at that for 97, 98.
But just listening to you, though, it sounds as if you're saying that was a contentious issue, that created a further division within Rastafari.
That was the major division, and Sam Brown died in that conference. That was a major crime against the Nyabinghi order and the theocracy government.
All right, so this is
put in place.
Go ahead.
To put in place an organization that will, put aside this theocracy order. As I said, if you Google Rastafari gathering, you will see that gathering that started in our I Love It president Jabi was an integral part of that first gathering in Miami, 94.
Right, so that is Dr. Jabi of
gathering, you will see that history, that close up. So to sign a petition against the Nyabinghi.
So to be clear, before you go on, to be clear, so that there is no misunderstanding, you're saying what happened in the Eastern Caribbean is different from what you're talking about in Miami with led by Jabi, Dr. Jabi of Dark. These are two different things, right? So that there's no misunderstanding.
Yeah,
you say one is a betrayal. You say one is a betrayal. You're saying that what happened in the Eastern Caribbean was a betrayal of Rastafari. And then what happened? And then what happened in Miami? Talk to us about Miami.
And then they intercepted the good work of what started in Miami to keep an annual gathering for the Rastafari.
Okay, hold a minute for me, please. All right, back with you inside of the Africa Forum. We're live to South Africa, where Junior Negus is on the phone lines. I elect of records at the Scots Pass Nyabinghi, Rastafari Ancient Council Global Secretary, taking us through some of the highlights of Rastafari history over the years. Junior, in the next 5 minutes, can you take us to right now?
Okay. 5 minutes. 2000, two priests passed, and that's how I got involved. And the elector of record, who was Rasaibai at the time, he had resigned, so the elders asked me to take up this portfolio. 2002, I wrote a letter to the Queen where the response was indeed get the headline through the public defender, Mr. Hamilton. 2003, we still calling for global reasoning to put in place the 22-point resolution, first one in place. 2005, we requested of Morgan Heritage to help us. He helped us a bit, give thanks for his help. Then 2006, we request of the Honorable Caesar Kalanji to assist us to organize us in one. That's what called the Three Light Bingi in Augustown, where it's tabernacle, and then to set up an all mansion. It was intercepted 2007 a bit by Sister Maxine, structuring up the Millennium Council. But we still work with it. That 2008, we registered what was called the intellectual property rights of the Rastafari community. And this is what create a lot of what's happening up to today. Well, 2010, we met with the Honorable Babsy Grange, the elders, and then 2011 now we have Sister Mitza coming back to the Nyabinghi house, and then 2012 the Snoop Dogg come in, and he was crowned Baron Selassie, mean the light of the Trinity, in our tabernacle. So from that happening, that's how we get the indigenous president coming in at the end of after that episode, because things got really serious. We had to take drastic action to put some things in place. And then 2014, the ganja bill came in, and that was now destroyed the whole unity, because then we have 2015 IV registering what was called Rasta Ainity to usurp the
No, hang on there, Junior. I cannot let you say that about Ras IV, that he was trying to usurp anything. So we apologize to Ras IV for that. But you're saying that he registered Rastafari Ainity?
Ainity, yeah.
Yes.
And then at that time we had the cannabis, because Rasta now there's 3 people with rights to ganja, which is the medical, the institution for research, and Sacrament. So when cannabis wanted to come here to High Times, wanted to stage that ganja show here, he had to utilize our sacramental rights. So he had to come through the intellectual property rights that was registered with the Millennium Council. So this is why other organizations was created, like the Advisory Council that was created by Mark Golden. All these councils was to go around the intellectual property rights of the Rastafari. Even when the Snoop Dogg was coming in, he was agreed to pay millions coming through the Millennium Council intellectual property rights, but certain individuals took him aside that they could get it for like $1,000 US, and that's what happened there. So we have been securing the throne room of the Most High from a long time, since the 2 priests passed, let's say 2000, that if they're, and trying to make a way for the community to better itself, even through the intellectual property rights, because, that is serious.
Yeah.
That alone could assist us. And the Snoop Dogg coming in, he was willing to pay millions for what happened. And the High Times coming in. High Times, when we check the ones who are leading, where is the contract? Where is High Times going to... Because he's got to come through us as Rasta. So we need a proper account and the profit or a share in what was going to happen. And this is how we... simple people, they take things in their own hands and go around the intellectual property rights that the Millennium Council represents, and defeat all the good work that I&I is trying to do. Like the rest of the community is so poor, The rest of the community is not poor; it's just the ones them trying to do things in their own way and cause.
It sounds to me as if you have and are describing a splintering, for want of a better word, of not just in Nyabinghi, but Rastafari generally in terms of the centralization or centralizing of Rastafari. So that there is no center. This is what I'm hearing from you.
Right. But what we have learned as we start up, that through the indigenous customary laws, even the natural laws in Africa, that the elders are the custodian of this movement. So this is why, starting to operate, not wanting to work in vain, we try to work under the authority of the Asians, that they guide the administration that I embarked on. Even today, right now, we have in the office here, we have a meeting here, we have 3 different mansions that I actually, galvanized to come together, because the ganja business in South Africa is at a point behind Jamaica. So the South African community don't want what happened in Jamaica to happen in South Africa.
And what in particular would that be? What happened in Jamaica?
What happened in Jamaica was that, not calling the minister's name, but he created what was called a advisory council.
Well, you can call his name because that is in the public's domain. You can call his name.
Mark Golden.
Yes.
Mr. Mark Golden.
Yes, he created an advisory council. Yes.
Right. And this was influenced through Paul Chung, because we have a Rasta community down there in Jamaica. It's called RRC, Rasta Reform Community. These are the homosexuals.
Oh, please. Listen, you have, Junior, I'm going to say to you, please do not do this. It's not necessary to talk about people's sexuality or to throw dirt or to throw mud. It really is not necessary to do that. So you're saying that there is another organization here in Jamaica called the RRC, and you're saying they worked along with Mark Golding?
Right, they were the biggest influence in that Rastafari Council. And this is what gives certain people handling over the ganja industry, even in South Africa here,
Yes.
A certain kind of manipulation going on.
Right. So when South Africa is looking on Jamaica, they are looking on to say that how Jamaica or the Rastafari community dealt with and responded to the
ganja bill.
Yeah, which is the ganja bill, the decriminalization of ganja and so on, that Jamaica made many mistakes. This is what I hear you saying. And so South Africa is learning.
Especially the Rastafari community.
Right.
You see?
And South Africa is learning from those mistakes. So what are you doing differently in South Africa?
By the government is at the point where they pass in a bill, and they're willing to exempt the worship, so to the Rasta community. So, but the Rasta community, for example, they presented like 8 different papers to the government, so that's why we have to call everyone together and says, no, can't be like that. We must have one paper.
Okay.
So that's what we're working on right now.
Because it is true, and I had many discussions here in this space before the decriminalization, leading up to the decriminalization, within the decriminalization process, and after. And the question was always, how would Rastafari and the Rastafari community be situated in this process? It seemed to me at the time that the Rastafari community had the answers, but that there was the kind of unity that was needed for that centralization of the process for and on behalf of Rastafari, that was not there. You are right that this is bothersome for Rastafari, even as we are looking back now in hindsight, looking at what we're seeing, and that the Rastafari community really hasn't benefited and is still scrambling to make their way and make themselves heard within this process. So what we see are individuals. Here we come again to the kind of a capitalist structure within this process, and the very same kind of neoliberal policies that we see in the wider community. We see that working now within the Rastafari community in terms of how Rastafari is engaging with the ganja situation. Can South Africa escape this?
Well, South Africa is very serious, because one thing they have that we never have was what is called IKS rights, indigenous rights, which is enshrined in their constitution.
Okay.
So they have a bigger opportunity than us under the Queen system down there,
Okay. Hold the line for me. No. Let me just do this quickly and come right back.
Only Optical Elements has the latest technology lenses and frames to suit your taste and budget. Visit us at 67 Halfway Tree Road, online at opticalelementsja.com or call 929-8284. Optical Elements, vision in style. The time by Optical Elements is
7:44. You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African and Junor Negus, Elect of Records, and the Nyabinghi here on the phone lines. He's coming to us live from South Africa, where he himself is now engaged in a process of, can we call it uniting Rastafari in South Africa, Junor?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I want to come forward again to look at what can you tell us then, as the Elect of Records, about the Scots Pass Nyabinghi itself, and where the Scots Pass Nyabinghi tabernacle and the controversy surrounding that finds itself today?
Okay, thanks for that again, And I want to bless up everyone in Jamaica, and thank you very much for giving me this privilege, because it's like home for a minute on the phone,
Yes.
So I want to bless up everyone, and that I miss Jamaica much, but I really am preparing a place here for those who want to come home. That is our mission here.
I like the language. So, I like the language, Junor. You've gone to prepare a place.
Actually, and we have a nice place so far.
Yes,
I have a mountaintop and that you just go up there and pick up a stone, and in the stone gold is glistening, the water coming up. Because I've been trying to find a proper place where we could structure a community.
Yes, and I hear you. I also hear the South African accent coming out once in a while there from you. So you're catching on to the accent. You're catching on to the accent.
They have some nice ways of talking.
Yes, I hear.
I'd like to learn the Zulu. Some of the Zulu,
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So to the question of Scots Pass.
Scots Pass now. Let's take it from 2003, Sister Rita Marley came to Scots Pass. I was there. She says that, listen, that time we had a wooden tabernacle there. She said she's going to need this spot where the tabernacle is to build her house, so we can go and build tabernacle round the back or somewhere like that, right? Or up on the hill. She made that clear. So when she came back, when she was ready now for her place, she came back of maybe about 2011 or somewhere after there. So when she came now, she's seen a major concrete tabernacle. She sees a major office structure. I wasn't there at the time, and let's say big respect to the Honorable President Cesar Kalanji, and big respect to Ras Ivai, because those two persons are my two people that I respect so much, you understand, as a youth coming up,
Yes.
you see?
Yes.
So when Sister Rita Marley came to, I wasn't underground. Sizzler wasn't underground. It was Ras Ivi who was underground. So Ras Ivi took Sister Rita Marley for a tour around the land. So Sister Marley looked at the office structure and the tabernacle, and he says, who is responsible for building these structures? You know, because these structures now going to be a problem to her. So now she's going to have to come to the idea that she's going to fence off that portion.
Okay.
You see? So she says, I would like to speak with Sizzler. That argument came to me. I arranged a meeting at the museum.
So when she asked, you said when she asked who was responsible for building, she was told it was Sizzler.
Yeah, Ras Ivi told her it was Sizzler.
And so
she said she wants to talk to Sizzler.
Okay.
So when I heard or we heard, we arranged the meeting at the museum. Congo Daniel, as the founding father of Scots Pass, because it was him who built the tabernacle, the original tabernacle, 2 years before the community came. Congo Daniel was the man who spent his money, you know, that's why he would hand over to Sizzler to assist him as another money man, because they're money people. So anyways, we went with Daniel, because Daniel was the one who was up front with Sister Rita Marley about receiving that land. You see?
Yeah.
And when we went to the museum, it was Sister Rita Marley, myself, Congo Daniel, and the Honorable Sizzler Kalanji. You see?
Yeah.
So we sat there in the office. There was one lady that teaches Amharic. She was in and around the office, right? So when Sister Rita Marley says to Sizzler, I want to put that 5 acre of land where you build on in your name so that she can guarantee that the tax will be paid. You see? So Sizzler suggested to her that maybe you could get the council a gathering of a committee of ancients to put it in their name. She says, no, I want it in Miguel Collins' name. So she called the secretary, because she wasn't in the place at the time. She's in a separate place. So she called her in, and this secretary, I think, is a very good friend of our brother Bujo Bantan. She probably could be the only witness to what I'm saying as the secretary. Sister Rita called her and tell her, listen, I want you to notify the lawyer and that this land must go in Miguel Collins' name. I don't know if it went any further. So when we went back to Scots Pass now, the word kind of get out, because I like to talk. I can't keep secret when it comes on to Rasta things, you see. So the word got out, and I think certain people was very disturbed that if the land should be in Sizzler's name. So it caused a lot of different things. But leading up to the different things, there was a time when the tax collector came to the ground at Scots Pass to find out about the tax. One of the brethren, he kind of tried to hide that from me and took it to that little brother at the front there, and the brother take it to the other brother in Mapen there to see that, listen, we don't want these things because the tax is coming now directly to Scots Pass. So when I found out that was what I contacted the tax office, the tax needs to be paid. So I went to the land agency in Kingston up at one of those close to Micro College and got the number of the land, because I went to the Honorable Sizzler Kalanji, let him know what was happening, and tell him that, well, we decided to pay the tax. So he gave me 20,000 Jamaican dollars to go down to the tax office and pay on the land at Scots Pass. I went down there, I needed the number, that's why I went to the land agency, get the number, came back and paid $20,000 on the land tax at Scots Pass in Miguel Collins' name. You see? So
are you saying, so you pay the tax in Sizzler's name? What does that mean?
it means the receipt is in Sizzler's name, but the land in the Sister Ritta's name, the tax was paid.
Okay. And
so
yeah, go ahead.
So following up on that now, we realized that 2014, right, after the Pinnacle situation, for some reason, eviction was handed down to us at Scotts Pass, including Mama Shanti, that caused an incident. Sister Catherine had to get involved for them to, say, okay, Mama Shanti. But when they send one of those eviction notice to Michael Record, who's Bongo Daniel's son, Bingy Mikey, as the Honorable called him.
Yes.
Bingy Mikey, right? I said, no, this is getting out of hand. Because I was talking to Stefan along the way on the phone while
you were talking to who? You were talking to who?
Sister Stefan.
Oh, Stephanie Marley.
Right.
Okay.
And trying to arrange a meeting with her and the elders. And he was doing that, but when the notice came to Mikey, because Mikey's got his place there, Bingy Mikey.
Right.
You see? Michael Record.
Yes.
That's when I took his paper now and gathered the other eviction notice and consult with the president, Cesar Kalanji, and then went and seen
the lawyer?
Nana Barrington.
Yes.
Because Nana Barrington is a solicitor. All lawyers in Barrington and barristers work, and they don't have the qualification of a solicitor. A solicitor is a British trained, you see. So she is not a joke person to deal with any case. So when I took that Michael Records to her with Michael Records eviction, and she drafted the paper and filed it in the High Court, you see, that's when Sister Stephanie says, and then there was another case in Porus where I don't know what happened in the court there, but they was advised by the court, the Honorable Marley family, that it's best for them to go and talk to the Rastas, because the Rastas have a serious case. You see, that was another local case there in Porus. So when I filed that case in the High Court with Sister Nana Barrington, same time Sister Stephanie now says, the meeting I was trying to arrange with her, she says, no, we can't speak again because now this is a court matter. So now she started to, at the same time, I think her husband, which was the Honorable Alan Skilcole's son, Ras Ali, he was one of them who was, so he suddenly died right in the middle of all of those things. So I don't know if it's that or the fact that they called off the assault. They called off the whole thing. She starts calling Mikey, and she and Mikey now is friends, talking good, and all kinds of things going on. So I thought everything was okay. Now, the moment I came out of Jamaica, these people come back on the land with eviction notice. They evicted everyone off the land to leave by May 19th, 2020. Up until weeks while I even listened to your program when you was dealing, because I think you was the one who mentioned that May 19th is actually Malcolm X Day, and for to use a day like that.
It was an unfortunate date, yes.
Yeah. So that was the eviction note. Nobody in Jamaica said nothing. As a matter of fact, the ones on the land was preparing to leave. You see, there was no problem. There was no cry out. So when I see there was no cry out from no one, then I stood here and I wrote a letter to the lawyer as the Haitian Council Secretary and retain her to put a stoppage to that kind of an eviction. And I had to retain her. I've opened a GoFundMe on Facebook, thanks to Sister Queen Mother Tia in America that facilitated that GoFundMe, and we come up with $1,000 US and gave it to the lawyer. So along the way, the lawyer has been attacked physically through all kinds of scientific way. People had sent to entrap her, send her false client to entrap her.
All right, so that's some serious allegations that you're making there. I know that I've heard these elsewhere. I have not reported on them because she herself hasn't come on to talk about what has happened to her. She's an attorney, and so she knows how to deal with this particular issue. She knows that there's a space for her to respond to those issues and to say whether or not and what really happened. So I won't have you as her mouthpiece in this space, saying that and casting, because when you do that, the question then is who's entrapping her, etc., and you're pointing fingers immediately without saying who, because you really can't say who. And I really don't want that kind of situation in this space. We're trying to get to the bottom of something. We're trying to understand something. And what you have done today is that you've shed a whole lot of light. I recall last week, and we have just about 2 minutes left, really. But I recall last week that Sizzler said you weren't at the meeting at the Bob Marley at the Bob Marley Museum. You've said this morning that you were at the meeting, that you were there when Nana Rita called the secretary and asked her to put the land, to ensure that the land is put in, to ensure that the lawyers are spoken to, and the land is put in Sizzler Kalanji's, in Miguel Collins' name. So you're helping us to shed some more light on what happened at Scott Spas to take us where we are now. So what are your views in a minute on where we are now, and what would you like to see happen?
Okay, well, because the lawyer got a stroke, she had to go to Cuba. Mm-hmm. So she was absent, so that's why the case was ruled no contestant.
Oh, I see.
Now that she's back on the island, mm-hmm. she is requiring some funding to urgently, because she still has not gotten no funding. So it's still about funding the lawyer to secure the land, mm-hmm. because the land was to be secure now by the four people who was living on the land mm-hmm. under what they would call squatters' rights. Because if somebody, since other people are not going to defend us, then us on the land who live on the land mm-hmm. would defend the land.
So you're saying that this is still a process, that the lawyer is going to be taking up this again, and our hearts to her. We didn't know she had a stroke. So you're saying that, but the process is that she will revisit this once she's back, and you're saying she's back now.
Right, about a week, and she cannot take too long to file the paper, because mm-hmm. she's filing the paper that she was sick, and now she's back in the island, so she can't be back in the island. So she needs urgently some money.
All right.
So so that's basically where it's at, but I would, if I have time to...
We're totally out of time. Oh, you want to say, bless up somebody quickly? Mm-hmm. We're totally out of time, yes.
Well, I just want to bless up my baby mother, Shania, and my youth, and, all the brethren and